A billionaire installed secret cameras to watch the nanny. He expected to catch negligence, maybe theft. But when he reviewed the footage, what he saw about his own son brought him to his knees. Marcus Wellington installed security cameras throughout his entire mansion. Every room, every hallway, every possible angle. The objective was simple: watch the new nanny. He was absolutely certain that she would reveal her true intentions at some point. But what the cameras showed wasn't anything he expected. What he saw in the recordings had nothing to do with the nanny, but everything to do with his own son. And this discovery destroyed and rebuilt Marcus at the same time. But let's start from the beginning, because this story needs to be told properly. Marcus Wellington was the owner of a chain of luxury vehicle dealerships. At 45 years old, he had built an empire valued at over $85 million. For dealerships in Los Angeles, 2 in San Diego, 1 in San Francisco. He sold Porsche, Ferrari, and Lamborghini. Famous people bought cars from him: athletes, entrepreneurs, celebrities. He was the guy. But success has a price, and the price Marcus paid was far too high. 2 years ago, his wife, Jennifer, asked for a divorce. She couldn't take it anymore. Couldn't take the absence, the canceled dinners, the endless business trips, the weekends he spent closing deals instead of being with the family. She said she married a man but lived with a ghost, and she took Oliver, their 7-year-old son, with her. The custody was shared, but in practice Oliver lived with his mother. Marcus saw the boy on alternating weekends and some Wednesday nights. And that was devastating. Not because of losing the marriage. Marcus admitted the marriage had been dead for a long time, but because of the distance from his son. Every time Oliver left after a weekend, Marcus felt a hole in his chest. He'd watch the boy get in the car with his mother, waving through the window, and he'd stand there on the sidewalk, alone in that enormous empty mansion. That's when he decided to change. He went to court asking for real shared custody, 50% of the time. Jennifer didn't oppose. She knew Marcus loved his son, he just didn't know how to show it properly. The judge granted it. From that moment on, Oliver would spend 1 week with his mother, 1 week with his father. And that's when the problem began, because Marcus didn't know how to take care of a child. He knew how to sell a $400,000 Porsche, knew how to negotiate, close contracts, manage teams, but change bed sheets, prepare a healthy snack, help with homework, take him to soccer, to swimming, 2 birthday parties for little classmates. He had no idea. Jennifer had always taken care of all that, and now Marcus was alone. He tried to manage on his own the first 2 weeks. It was a disaster. Oliver ate ramen noodles for days in a row, went to school with his uniform shirt wrinkled. They forgot the swimming bag at home twice. Marcus arrived late to pick the boy up from school because a meeting ran long. On the second Saturday, Oliver asked if he could go back to his mother's house before Sunday, and that broke Marcus's heart. He realized his son wasn't happy there, and realized he needed help. That's when he hired Sarah. She was 41 years old, had a degree in child development, had worked as a nanny for 17 years, impeccable resume, excellent references. The agency guaranteed she was the best professional available. Marcus would pay $8,000 per month, double the market rate, because he wanted someone really good, someone who would make his son happy. Sarah started on a Monday. She arrived at 7 in the morning when Oliver was still sleeping. Marcus showed her the house and explained the routine. He gave all the information about school, extracurricular activities, allergies, food preferences. Sarah wrote everything down in a small notebook, paying attention to every detail. She seemed professional, competent, serious, but there was something about her that bothered Marcus. Maybe it was the way she was too quiet, or the fact that she barely smiled, or simply the fact that Marcus didn't trust anyone. In recent years, he had learned the hard way that people lie. Employees stole, partners tried scams. Even his own wife Jennifer, he discovered later, had an affair with her personal trainer in the last months of their marriage. Everyone was fake. Everyone wanted something. And now he was going to let a stranger take care of his most precious possession, his son, not without supervision. That same afternoon, Marcus called an electronic security company. He wanted cameras installed, many cameras, living room, kitchen, hallway, Oliver's room, laundry room, utility area, garage, garden. He wanted to see everything. The technician asked if it wasn't too invasive. Marcus responded that it was his house and his son, and to install them immediately. The cameras were strategically placed, small, discreet, high definition. Sarah didn't know she was being watched. Marcus could access the footage from his phone at any time, and that's exactly what he started doing religiously, obsessively. In the first few days he didn't see anything wrong. Sarah woke Oliver gently, prepared breakfast, took the boy to school, picked him up at the right time, helped with homework, took him to swimming, cooked balanced meals, kept the house organized, put Oliver to bed on time. She was efficient, punctual, responsible, exactly what Marcus was paying to have. But he kept watching because he was sure that at some point she would slip up, would show who she really was, would mistreat the boy when she thought no one was watching, or would steal something, or would talk badly about him to Oliver, or something else. There had to be something. It was on Thursday of the second week that Marcus noticed the first strange detail. He was at the dealership office in a tedious meeting about sales targets when he decided to check the cameras. It was mid-afternoon. Oliver was still at school. Sarah was alone at home, and Marcus saw her in the boy's room. She was sitting on the edge of the bed holding the stuffed bear that Oliver slept hugging every night. And she was crying. It wasn't a discreet cry. It was a deep cry, painful, silent but intense. Her shoulders trembled. She pressed the bear against her chest, as if she were hugging someone. She stayed like that for almost 10 minutes. Then she wiped her face, arranged the bear back on the bed and left the room as if nothing had happened. Marcus was disturbed. Why was she crying? And why in Oliver's room? Did she have some trauma, some psychological problem? Had he put an unstable person to take care of his son? He spent the rest of the day thinking about it. He almost sent a message asking if everything was okay, but decided not to. He didn't want her to know about the cameras. On Friday night, Oliver was with Marcus in the living room watching a movie. Sarah had already left. The boy was quiet, distracted. Marcus asked if everything was okay. Oliver shrugged. "Do you like Sarah?" Marcus asked. Oliver nodded, but didn't take his eyes off the television. "Is she nice?" Marcus insisted. Oliver finally looked at his father. "She's sad, Dad. She gets sad sometimes." Marcus felt a chill down his spine. "Did you see her crying?" Oliver shook his head. "No, but I know when people are sad. The teacher at school taught us. She said we have to pay attention to other people's feelings. And Sarah gets sad. I can feel it." Marcus didn't know what to answer. He hugged his son and they went back to watching the movie, but his mind was far away. Over the weekend, while Oliver played in the garden, Marcus reviewed all the recordings from the week. He watched hours of footage and began to note a pattern. Sarah was impeccable with Oliver, but when the boy wasn't around, she changed. She'd keep her head down, stare at nothing, sometimes pick up her phone and just look at the screen without doing anything, as if she were lost in thought. At several moments, she'd stop what she was doing and simply take a deep breath. She'd close her eyes as if she were holding herself together to keep from falling apart. And there was something else. Marcus noticed that Sarah avoided the staff bedroom. She had been hired as a full-time nanny, with overnight stays 3 times a week to cover the days when Marcus needed to travel or had evening commitments. Her room was comfortable, had a private bathroom, television, everything. But in the recordings, Marcus saw that she practically never went in. She'd spend the nights in the living room, sleeping on the sofa, or stay awake on her phone until late. Something was very wrong and Marcus needed to find out what, but he didn't want to confront her directly. So he did something else. He went to the staff bedroom when Sarah wasn't there and searched. He wasn't supposed to go through her things, but he needed to understand. He opened the backpack she left there. It had clothes, hygiene products, nothing much. But in the side pocket he found a wallet. Inside were documents, cards, and a photo. A crumpled, faded photo of Sarah, smiling next to a boy. A boy about 8 or 9 years old, dark hair, wide smile, hugging her. Marcus felt his stomach turn. Who was that boy? Did she have a son? Why didn't the agency mention this? And where was the child now? He took out his phone and took a picture of the photo, put everything back exactly as it was, and left the room. His heart was racing. He had discovered something, but didn't know yet what it was. On Monday, he called the agency, asked about Sarah's personal life. The attendant confirmed that yes, Sarah had been a mother, but her son had died 4 years ago. A car accident. The child was 9 years old at the time. Marcus hung up the phone and sat in his office unable to move. Everything made sense now. The crying in Oliver's room, the constant sadness, the difficulty sleeping. She was taking care of a boy the same age her son had been when he died. And Marcus realized something terrible. He had hired her because he wanted someone qualified, professional, efficient, and she was all that. But he hadn't stopped to think about what it meant for her to be there. He hadn't asked if she was okay, if she was ready for this. He just wanted someone to solve his problem. He felt shame, and he felt something more: compassion. That night, he decided he was going to talk to her, but first he watched the day's recordings, and that's when he saw something that changed everything. Oliver was doing his math homework at the kitchen table. Sarah was beside him helping. He got a problem wrong and started getting frustrated. "I'm stupid, I can't do it," Oliver said, hitting the pencil on the table. Sarah held his hand gently. "You're not stupid, Oliver. You're learning. Making mistakes is part of it. Try again calmly." "But I always make mistakes. My dad must think I'm stupid." "Oliver's dad doesn't think that," Sarah said firmly. "Your dad loves you very much. He's just learning too." "Learning what?" Oliver asked. "Learning to be an even better dad than he already is, just like you're learning to do these math problems." And then Sarah did something that made Marcus drop his phone and cover his face with his hands. She hugged Oliver, a long hug, tight, warm, and said, "You're smart, brave, funny, caring. You're special, Oliver, and your dad knows it. He loves you so much that he's trying to be better for you. And you know how I know this? Because there's no greater love in the world than a father's love for his son. You can trust that." Oliver returned the hug. "Thank you, Sarah. You're nice. You're kind of like my mom, but different too. You're you." Sarah let go of the boy, quickly wiped her own tears, and smiled. "Now let's finish this homework, champ." Marcus turned off his phone, got up from the office chair, and went to the bathroom. He closed the door and cried. He cried because he realized that while he was obsessed with watching Sarah, looking for flaws, for failures, for betrayals, she was doing something he couldn't. She was loving his son, not because she was paid to, but because that boy was filling a void she had in her heart, and at the same time she was filling a void in Oliver's life. And he had another devastating realization. He saw the way Oliver talked to her in the recordings, natural, comfortable, confident. The boy laughed with her, told her things from school, asked for opinions about drawings he made, showed proudly when he learned something new. And Marcus realized that his son didn't do that with him. With him, Oliver was polite, respectful, but distant, contained, as if he were afraid of bothering him, as if he didn't want to disappoint. Marcus spent the following days watching the recordings with a completely different look. Not searching for Sarah's mistakes, but searching for moments with his son, and what he saw destroyed him. He saw Oliver alone in his room drawing, and in the drawings there was him, there was his mother, there was Sarah, but the father was always far away, on the other side of the page, small. He saw Oliver asking Sarah if his dad really liked him. He saw the boy saying he missed his dad even when he was with him, because his dad was always on his phone, always busy, always tired. And with each video, Marcus realized how absent he had been. Even living in the same house, even having his son physically present there, he was absent. He worked late, checked emails during dinner, took calls in the middle of playtime, and Oliver, that little 7-year-old boy, had already learned that his dad had more important things to do than be with him. Now, before we continue with what happened next, I need to ask you something. If this story is making you reflect on your own life, on the people you love, on the time you give or fail to give, then hit that subscribe button right now. And here's what I want you to do. It's going to sound different, but trust me on this. In the comments, write just one word that describes the feeling the story is giving you right now. Just one word. Sad, hopeful, guilty, grateful, whatever you're feeling, drop that one word down below. I want to see what this community is feeling, because these stories aren't just entertainment, they're mirrors. And sometimes we need to see our own reflection to understand what we need to change. Now, back to Marcus, because what happens next will absolutely wreck you. It was on a Wednesday that the scene happened that broke Marcus completely. He was at the dealership when he opened the cameras on his phone. It was almost bedtime. Sarah was putting Oliver to bed. She adjusted the blanket, gave him a kiss on the forehead. "Good night, champ. Dream of good things." "Sarah," Oliver called before she left. "Can you stay a little longer?" Sarah came back and sat on the edge of the bed. "Of course. What's wrong?" Oliver was silent for a moment. Then he asked in that small child's voice, "Do you think I'll have a little brother someday?" Sarah seemed surprised. "I don't know, honey." "Why do you want to know?" "Because I feel lonely sometimes," Oliver said, looking at the ceiling. "At Mom's house it's different, she's with me more. But here at Dad's house he works a lot, and when he's not working, he's tired. I wish I had someone to play with." Sarah caressed his hair. "Your dad loves you very much, Oliver. Sometimes adults get a little lost trying to give everything good to their children and end up forgetting that the best thing they can give is time. But that doesn't mean he doesn't love you." "I know he loves me," Oliver said, "but I wish he'd show me more." And then Oliver turned to the side, hugged the stuffed bear, and whispered something Marcus almost didn't hear. I wish my dad was like you, that he'd stay with me for real. Sarah closed her eyes, controlling her emotion. Your dad is going to learn, Oliver, and you'll see. Things are going to get better. Now sleep, okay? Oliver murmured a good night and closed his eyes. Sarah left the room, closed the door, and collapsed in the hallway, crying silently. Marcus was in the dealership parking lot, watching everything on his phone. People passed by him, employees leaving work, but he didn't see anyone. He only saw his son on the screen, the son who felt lonely, who wanted attention, who wanted a present father, and that father was less than 6 miles away, but might as well have been on another planet for how absent he was. That night, Marcus didn't go home. He stayed in the car for hours thinking, remembering Oliver's childhood, the moments he had lost. The first day of school he didn't go to because he had an important meeting. The 5th birthday party he arrived late to because he was closing a deal. The school theater presentation he didn't go to at all because he was at an auto show in Frankfurt. Everything had been more important than his son. Everything. And now a stranger, a hired nanny, was giving his son what he couldn't give: present, attention, affection. And the worst part was that she was doing this while carrying her own pain, while dealing with the loss of her own son. And yet she was there completely, present, loving a boy who wasn't hers. Marcus made a decision that night. He got home at dawn. Sarah was sleeping on the living room sofa, as always. He went upstairs slowly, entered Oliver's room, and stood there, watching his son sleep. The boy breathed peacefully, hugging the bear. He looked so small, so fragile, so perfect. And Marcus wondered how he had been capable of letting work steal so much time with that incredible child. He sat on the floor next to the bed and stayed there until the sun rose. When Oliver opened his eyes in the morning, the first thing he saw was his father sitting on the floor, looking at him. "Dad, what are you doing here?" Marcus smiled. "Just watching you sleep, like I used to do when you were a baby. Do you remember?" Oliver laughed. "I was a baby. How would I remember?" "True." Marcus laughed too. "So I'll do it again now that you can remember." That morning it was Marcus who made breakfast. Pancakes a little crooked, a bit burned, but Oliver ate everything, saying they were the best pancakes in the world. It was Marcus who took his son to school. It was Marcus who canceled all the day's meetings and picked Oliver up early to take him to the park. They stayed there all afternoon, played ball, flew a kite, bought ice cream, talked about dinosaurs, about superheroes, about everything and nothing. When they got home, Sarah was in the living room preparing dinner. She saw the two of them arriving, laughing, sweaty, messy, and smiled, a genuine smile. Marcus asked to talk to her after Oliver went to sleep. She agreed with a little apprehension in her eyes. Later, the two sat on the porch. Marcus took a deep breath. "Sarah, I need to tell you something. I installed cameras throughout the house. I saw everything." Sarah went pale. "You filmed me? I know what you're thinking and you have every right to be angry, but I need to thank you." "Thank me?" She didn't understand. Marcus explained. He explained about the paranoia, the distrust, the fear of hiring someone. He explained that he became obsessed with watching her, looking for mistakes, and he explained what he really saw. "I saw you loving my son. I saw you being the person I should be and wasn't being. I saw my son asking you for affection, attention, presents, things I should give and wasn't giving. And I saw you giving all of that to him, even while carrying your own pain." Sarah looked away, emotional. "You had no right to film me." "I know, and I apologize. The cameras were all removed today. All of them. There aren't any more. But I needed you to know that what I saw wasn't an employee doing her job. I saw a woman saving my son from having an absent father and saving me from losing my son forever." She stared at him. "I didn't do anything special. I just took care of him." "You did much more than that," Marcus said. "You showed him that he's important, that he deserves attention, that he's loved, and you showed me how much I was failing." Sarah wiped her tears. "Can I ask you a question, Marcus? Do you really want to change, or are you just feeling guilty now, and in a few days you'll go back to how you were?" Marcus held her hand. "Look at me. I promise you, I promise my son, and I promise myself, I'm going to change. I'm going to be present. I'm going to be the father he deserves. And I want you to continue here, not as a nanny, but as part of our family, because you already are." Sarah cried openly. "You know now that I lost my son, right? The agency told you." "I know, and I'm so sorry." She took a deep breath. "I thought I'd never be able to be around a child again. But when I saw Oliver, when I started taking care of him, It was like a part of me came back to life. He doesn't replace my son, nobody replaces him, but he made me remember that I still have love to give, and he deserves to receive all that love. Marcus hugged Sarah. Thank you for taking care of him when I didn't know how, and thank you for showing me that I can still learn. The two stayed there crying, supporting each other, two broken adults finding healing through a 7-year-old boy. In the following months, everything changed. Marcus drastically reduced his working hours, promoted managers to run the dealerships, delegated responsibilities, started working from home for days a week. And on the days with Oliver, his phone stayed on silent. Meetings were only during school hours, weekends were sacred. Oliver flourished. He started talking more, smiling more, seeking out his father to play, to talk, to simply be together. Marcus learned to make paper airplanes, to play video games, to watch cartoons without complaining. He learned that being a father isn't about giving expensive things, it's about giving time. And time was the only thing money couldn't buy. Sarah continued working there, but the relationship changed. She wasn't just the nanny anymore, she was family. They ate together, talked about life. Marcus encouraged her to go back to school, offered to pay for a master's degree. She accepted, and gradually she healed too. She found purpose in helping Oliver grow. She found in Marcus a friend, someone who understood that life sometimes breaks us, but also gives us a chance to rebuild. A year later, on a Sunday afternoon, the three of them were in the garden. Oliver was playing with a dog Marcus had given him as a gift. Sarah was reading a book sitting on the grass. Marcus was preparing a barbecue, something he had never done in his life, but was learning. And suddenly Oliver shouted, "Dad, look." And he started doing cartwheels on the lawn, clumsy, crooked, but he was trying. Marcus dropped everything and went to him. He ran with him, fell on the grass, rolled with his son, both of them laughing like crazy. Sarah took a picture of that moment with her phone, and when she showed Marcus later, he looked at the image and finally saw what he had been blind to for so long. He saw a father and son together for real, present, connected, and happy. If this story touched you, if it made you think about your own life, about the people you love, about the time you give or fail to give, then I need you to do something for me right now. Don't just watch and leave. Hit that subscribe button because this channel is about stories that change lives, stories that make us better humans. And here's what I really want. I want you to share your story in the comments. Have you ever been the absent parent, the forgotten child, the person who helped someone see what they were missing? Tell us. This community is built on real stories from real people, and your experience might be exactly what someone else needs to hear today. If you learned something from Marcus's journey, if Sarah's pain and redemption moved you, if Oliver's innocence reminded you of what really matters, then share this video with someone who needs to hear it. Because we all know someone who's too busy, too distracted, too focused on success to see what's slipping away right in front of them. And maybe, just maybe, this story will be the wake-up call they need. Be present with your body and soul, because life goes by fast, children grow up, opportunities disappear, and one day you'll look back and realize that what you'll regret most isn't what you did, it's what you failed to do, what you failed to live, who you failed to embrace. That's it for today. Until the next story. And remember, the best time to be present was yesterday. The second best time is right now.